stray. A simple world where love would bloom in every corner of the living room. Oh, the golden thread, it ties us tight through black and white into the light. A reel of love, it's always there. Classic moments beyond compare.
Welcome back to The Golden Thread, Lessons from Classic TV. These episodes are brought to you by the Classic TV Preservation Society, founded by Herbie J. Pilato. There are television comedies that make us laugh because the situations are outrageous. And then there are the rare ones that make us laugh because they remind us of ourselves. The Dick Van Dyke Show belongs in that second category. At first glance, it seemed to be about television writer Rob Petrie, his wife Laura, their young son Richie, and the wonderfully eccentric people who filled both his home and workplace. But underneath the comedy was something much more enduring. It was a celebration of ordinary life. Rob Petrie wasn't a superhero. He wasn't wealthy. He wasn't famous. He was simply a husband, a father, and a writer, trying to balance work, family, friendships, and the unexpected surprises that seem to arrive almost daily. That sounds remarkably familiar, because most of us aren't living extraordinary lives every day. We're living ordinary ones. The magic comes from how we choose to see them. At home, Laura Petrie brought warmth, intelligence, and grace to the family. Played beautifully by Mary Tyler Moore, Laura wasn't simply the sitcom wife waiting for her husband to come home. She was witty, confident, playful. She challenged Rob when she needed to. She laughed with him far more than she argued. Together they created one of television's happiest marriages. Not because they never disagreed, because they did. Because they genuinely enjoyed each other's company, and you could see it. They were both so wonderful. That joy radiated through every episode. Then there was the workplace. Very important to the show. Buddy Sorrell. Always ready with a joke. Sometimes unable to resist one. Sally Rogers. Sharp, independent, and every bit as funny as the men around her. Long before television regularly wrote women as comedy writers, Sally quietly proved she belonged in the room. And of course, we've got to mention Mel Cooley. Patient, professional, forever trying to survive Alan Brady's larger-than-life personality. Even Alan himself, despite his enormous ego, became part of the family that formed behind the scenes of a television show. Each character brought something unique. Each felt real. Each made the world richer. One of the remarkable things about the Dick Van Dyke Show is how often the comedy grew out of everyday moments. A misunderstanding, an embarrassing situation, a small mistake that somehow became much bigger. The laughs didn't require explosions or elaborate special effects. They came from recognizable human experiences. You see, we've all had those moments. The times we said the wrong thing. The times we tripped over our own feet or maybe our own ottoman. The times life became funny simply because it refused to follow the script that we'd written in our heads. Perhaps no image captures the series better than Rob Petrie walking through the front door and trying not to trip over the ottoman. Sometimes he succeeded, sometimes he didn't. Either way, we smiled. That little gag became more than a joke. It became a reminder. Life isn't about avoiding every stumble. Sometimes the stumble becomes the story everyone remembers. So what is the golden thread running through the Dick Van Dyke Show? I personally believe that it's joy. Not the loud, fleeting excitement that disappears by tomorrow. The quieter kind. The joy found in family dinners, in shared laughter, in friendships that survive disagreements, in work that has purpose, in coming home at the end of the day knowing someone is happy to see you. Those moments rarely make headlines, yet they often become the memories we treasure most. Today's world can sometimes convince us that ordinary isn't enough. We're encouraged to chase bigger achievements, more recognition, greater success, or the next exciting thing. The Dick Van Dyke Show gently reminds us that a beautiful life is often built from wonderfully ordinary days. A conversation across the dinner table, a joke shared among coworkers, a child laughing in the next room, a husband and wife dancing in the living room simply because they can. Those moments matter, perhaps more than we realize. The series also understood something about laughter itself. Laughter doesn't erase hardship. It doesn't pretend life is perfect. Instead, it gives us perspective. It reminds us that even difficult days eventually become stories that we tell with a smile. Comedy has always been one of humanity's quiet survival skills. It helps us carry burdens without letting those burdens define us. More than 60 years after it first premiered, the Dick Van Dyke Show continues to feel fresh. Not because fashions haven't changed, not because technology stood still, but because love still looks like love. And when we see it in that show, we know it. Friendship still feels like friendship. Family still gathers around the dinner table. People still trip over life's ottomans. And we still need permission to laugh at ourselves. The most important thing. Perhaps that's why the series endures. It reminds us that happiness doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it walks through the front door, stumbles over the ottoman, laughs, gets back up, and sits beside the people it loves. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's more than enough. Don't you think? And that, guys, that's the golden thread. Thank you very, very much for listening with me today. And I'll talk to you next week, all right? Later, Gators. Bye-bye.
Walking down the lanes of yesterday, where laughter echoes and hearts don't stray.